Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining Joe and me today. It's great to have you with us. In this session for AI Public Sector Week, we'll be exploring how AI can be responsibly incorporated into digital platforms that are already in use across the public sector. We'll be using Calvium's own Place Experience platform as a real-world case study. This is a platform currently adopted by multiple local authorities in the UK. Drawing on both technical insight and hands-on experience, we'll walk through how an evidence-based evaluation process can support transparent and accountable decision-making. This helps ensure that any AI capability introduced into a platform is safe, is reliable, and aligned with public sector values. Ultimately, the goal of today's session is to demystify AI and help public sector organizations feel more confident about making informed decisions grounded in real-world practice. And I'm sure you'll find this session really valuable. So a bit about Calvium. We are an established digital innovation agency specializing in research, experience design, software engineering, and mobile innovation. We design technology around people, using a human-centered approach to create inclusive digital experiences. And our approach is both strategic and hands-on. That means combining strategic thinking with creative design and technical delivery to turn complex challenges into digital solutions and platforms that solve real-world problems for our clients. And as you can see here, we work with a wide range of organizations across the public sector. We're also part of the Digital Leaders AI Experts platform. We're finalists in the National Technology Awards in the Responsible and Ethical AI category, and members of the team have been working with various AI technologies for over 2 decades, more of which later. Now, I'll quickly walk through the structure of today's session. We'll begin with scene setting to frame the context for the discussion and make sure that we're all on the same page. Then Reid will introduce Calvium's Place Experience platform, which will give you a practical reference point for the examples we're going to be talking about. And after that, we'll look at the UK government's AI playbook and how we're using it to inform responsible decision-making around AI. And then we'll explore how AI can be thoughtfully and responsibly integrated into public sector platforms. Right, so let's set the scene. What is AI? Artificial intelligence is an umbrella term for various interconnected technologies that are implemented to attain different goals. And as this timeline shows, AI did not start in 2022 when ChatGPT was released into the wild. In fact, the term artificial intelligence was coined by an academic in the US, John McCarthy, for a summer school he was running in around 1956. And AI has since evolved into a major field of science and engineering. And today, AI is everywhere in digital assistants like Siri and Alexa, software in your sat-nav, portrait mode in your smartphone, product recommendations from online stores, film recommendations from Netflix. They all involve various and different AI technologies. And simply, we can break these into technologies that recognize images, so computer vision, understand language, natural language programming and speech recognition, create new content, so think generative AI, such as text, images, audio, code, learn from data. Here we're thinking machine learning and predictive analytics, could take action, so automation and robotics. Now, when we think about public sector platforms in the UK, these are digital systems and technologies used by government organisations and public bodies to deliver services, manage information, and interact with citizens and stakeholders. And these platforms can take various forms, including proprietary systems developed by an organisation itself, third-party commercial systems provided by external vendors, and shared or open platforms used across multiple public sector bodies. And together, they support the efficient delivery of services and help organizations to manage data, operations, and user experiences at scale. Now, for the purposes of this session, we focus on our third-party commercial platform, the Place Experience platform. And why is our talk about integrating AI into existing systems important? Well, here we turn to the UK government's approach to harnessing the power of new AI tools and capabilities. When introducing AI into public sector, public services, government policy strongly favours enhancement of existing platforms over wholesale replacement. AI is treated as an additional capability layer. And now I'll hand over to Jo Reid, Calvium's founder and CEO, to introduce you to the Place Experience platform.
Thank you, Jo. Lovely to be with you today. So I'd like to introduce, as Jo said, our Calvium's own Place Experience platform, or PEP, as we fondly call it. It helps UK councils reinvigorate their high streets and can engender pride in place by engaging residents and visitors with interactive, location-aware digital trails, storytelling and wayfinding. It can support community-led placemaking by enabling residents to co-create interactive experiences. It can strengthen local pride and identity through place-based storytelling to celebrate its heritage and culture, unique to each specific place. It improves access with inclusive digital experiences that can help reach diverse audiences without the need for new or physical infrastructure, making them aware of what is there and how it might help them. And it can allow councils to deploy one platform across multiple neighbourhoods efficiently. The experiences that it creates means that footfall is increased and dwell time increases by encouraging people to explore the high streets and the town centres and all of its cultural assets. So it can deliver measurable impact via real-time data, supporting funding or evaluation or impact that many councils are required to do. So these are some of our current council clients. We also service and use the platform for people in the arts area and heritage sectors. But again, because we're focusing on public sector today, where we have amongst our client suite these notable clients who, many of whom kind of use the platform to engage and work with advocates in each of the local towns so that they've got the power to create their own stories, their own trails, and give their own cultural twist to their own place distinctively. Thank you, Jo. So within it, with the PEP, we've architected the platform so that the single source of content, which the council members can update for their own places, is held in a content management system, which that can then be delivered out through a mobile app or a website, or even into street kiosks with the same content. And the choices of which of those are used depends on the needs and the budgets of our different clients. Thanks, Jo. The content management system's got an easy to use interface and supports different user types, so councils can train their own champions in different towns to develop their own trails and add events and keep their own listings up to date, very much putting the power in people's hands. It's fantastic for making compelling trails or hunts. We can even support AR hunts or ghost hunts, for example, for things like Halloween. And we wanted to make the platform the best in the moment experience for people on the ground who have and require access needs. So whether they're long-term needs or temporary, for example, if you're taking out an elderly relative for the day, you might need to know where wheelchair accessibility is, certainly need to know where the toilets are and things like that. And all of this is kind of complies to WCAG features so that all of the proper access needs are supported in the interface. So that gives you a whistle-stop tour of the platform that we're using for context. And I'll hand back to Jo to say how then we can consider this platform in the context of the AI playbook.
Perfect segue. So I will now summarise the artificial intelligence playbook for the UK government which provides practical guidance for how the public sector should adopt and use AI responsibly. The playbook recognizes that AI has enormous potential to improve public services. It can help civil servants by making things run faster, reduce time spent on repetitive tasks, and allow services to respond more quickly to citizens' needs. However, the playbook is clear that AI should not be treated as a magic solution. It emphasizes that government teams must understand both what AI can do and what its limitations are. AI systems can produce errors, lack contextual understanding, and require careful testing before being used in real services. And I contend that those government teams need to commission SMEs who have deep understanding of AI, theoretically and technically. Now, at the heart of the playbook are 10 guiding principles, which we'll focus on today, for the safe and effective use of AI in government. And these include using AI lawfully and ethically, ensuring systems are secure, maintaining meaningful human oversight, and managing AI systems across their full life cycle. The guidance also stresses transparency, collaboration, and building the right skills and expertise within government teams. So overall, the message is simple. AI offers a major opportunity to improve productivity and public services, but only if it is deployed carefully, transparently, and with people at the center. And that certainly fits with Calvium's approach. The playbook is therefore less about promoting AI and more about helping government use it wisely and safely for the public good. And from Calvium's perspective, the playbook is incredibly useful. It tells us how the public sector is thinking about AI, the governance expectations, the risks you need to manage, the principles and frameworks that guide you. If we align our work with that framework from the start, it removes friction. Procurement is smoother, delivery is clearer, and we're designing systems that fit public sector realities. In short, it helps us to design and build technology that works not just technically, but institutionally. At which point I shall hand over to Jo to show how the AI playbook can be applied.
Thank you, Jo. So I'm going to go through each of those principles and illustrate how we've used them or thought about them and applied them in the context of our PEP Place Experience Platform, or PEP. So the first principle, you know what AI is and what its limitations are. How, obviously, within the company, as Jo has alluded to, we have many, many years of experience in using AI, members of the team, and we make sure that we keep abreast of everything that's going on. So as kind of digital experts, that is our DNA, if you like. So what we keep thinking about here is cognizance of the things like hallucinations in particular. You know, how can we make sure that we restrict those in different contexts? And we also always think, how might we use the different capabilities that are emerging and available to help our clients? And so in the hallucinations example, for example, a thing I'll show later is that in PEP, we made sure that we restricted how the algorithms would work to only use the content which our clients have put into the content management system, so that the additional capability, if you like, of using a chatbot or anything else draws on the benefits of natural language, but restricts the answers to the actual carefully curated content that the clients have used without speculating wider. And we know how to restrict those and use it in that tightly bound context. And in helping our clients, we think about things like we always make sure that every image on our digital products will have an alt image so that the screen readers can read them. And AI is particularly good at helping describe what's in an image, adding it as a bit of alt text so that it makes a richer descriptor for those people with access needs. And then a large part of Place Experience Platform is the brilliant content that's put in by our content producers. And again, some of the nuts and bolts of that content production process, we think, how might AI help speed up that process? How might then it help our clients in that way? As Joe alluded to on the second point, using AI lawfully, ethically, and responsibility, I, as a product owner and CEO of Calvium, make sure that we've got a robust Calvium AI policy, which we've consulted and educated all of our team in, and we keep abreast of developments as they go on, using things like the playbook and latest government issues, as well as what's going on in the field. And as an example of that, we have all hands workshops where we can then actually dig in to discuss the ethics and the use, so that we're cognizant of the compromises we are taking, and endeavour to use AI for good rather than for gratuitous sake that doesn't have any application or meaning to people. And we're always trying to make sure that we keep abreast of appropriate language to use and how to make sure that the AI responses are always got a human in the loop to check it, and very much keep conscious of the bias that can be crept into many AI systems, so that we ensure where the sources of content are coming from to avoid that. On the next slide, you can see a couple of examples of how we used it in the product. So in the illustration, you see there the boundary that's put down in our mapping part of our content management system, where our clients will be able to define what is the boundary of the place that they're applying to, so that the screens will, when you're in the right place, center the map there and give you that context. And so we kind of used AI approach to auto-generate that boundary, again, making it easier for our clients to adjust that rather than have to work it out from first principles and put all those little dots in. And then we also created a feature within our content that when we release new capabilities, we like to tell people what's in it. And so again, we use AI to kind of auto-generate a what's new feature, so that it made it easier for software tooling and our processes. So let's go on to some more of the principles, please, Joe. So in terms of making sure how to use AI securely, as I mentioned before, again, as part of the solution to trying to avoid hallucinations as well, we've made sure that we can find ways to restrict the contents, control very carefully what the AI's using to generate its responsive in terms of the content. And then we also want to make sure that we know where the data source came from, how to trace its authenticity, and also bear in mind where this content is hosted, and make sure we have tight controls about where and who can see it. And as I mentioned, we ensure that we always have a human in the loop at some point. So we'll design an AI process so that a trained and qualified person can review it. Certainly internally, our developers will always kind of check each other's work, check on any AI generated content, and apply our AI policy to make sure that all of those are happening. But we also apply that system to wider process design that we might offer to clients, and think about the context of their own use and how they'll be using it. So building in processes that allows human validation checks seamlessly and easily is something that we certainly endeavour to do. And in the example here, we were certainly aware that in the Place Experience platform, as an example, for those clients who just choose to use the mobile apps, one of the strengths of the mobile app is that it gives you in the moment responsive information about where you are and what's there, and you can follow trails. What it doesn't necessarily contribute as positively to are people, before they're aware of where the app is or what's available, being able to find it. So one of the initiatives that we used was to see, okay, could we use AI to increase our chances of the client users, the people they want to attract to know about the fact there's this great app for Stroud here that's available to people to generate little web-based landing pages, again, based on the content within your app, so that when people are searching for what to do in Stroud, the app will appear as a resource that can be used and can be easily found, downloaded and used. And so again, we were using that approach to see how we might improve that user journey from, let's find out about Stroud to then using the app when you're in the moment and then afterwards. So that was a little experiment that we did there, which we shared with our clients. Some of the other principles about understanding how to manage the AI life cycle. So we know how to set up experimental areas. So our product's a live product, it's used by everybody. We want to be able to rapidly experiment with the ideas like the last one that we thought of, and a couple of others, and actually get input from our clients to know, does this work? Is this something you would value? How might it then affect your processes? What haven't we considered? And so we can separate and bring out an experimental area, which we can then invite clients for feedback, do some user testing, test it all out robustly before then thinking about how we might weave it in and integrate it into our main system through a carefully managed process. And we've got processes and tools to help us do that. Principle number 6, you use the right tool for the job. Again, we're aware of all of the different capabilities AI have. I mean, years ago, we've been using image recognition well in advance of the latest craze of LLMs to help some clients kind of be able to more quickly use that capacity to bring information to bear. And of course, the chatbots, we've considered how to use those, and experimented with weaving them in as part of an augmented. I'll illustrate that in a minute in the next slide. As the previous slide showed, we use Gen I for the web pages and the generator. So here's the example now of how we've considered a chatbot to be used in conjunction with the current capabilities within the mobile app to add the extra dimension of a natural language interface to our clients, as well as being able to directly search for things that they want to through the standard interface. And again, this is something that we brought up, developed as a prototype, could try it out with clients, and when the time is right and the request is there, weave it into our product safely and securely. So going on to the next kind of principles, which again hark back to the previous ones, open collaborative. As we said, these particular examples that I've shown, we had community workshops with other clients who are current users, so that they can feedback and let us know which things they're excited about, which things they would really want, and then how they're wrestling with AI. We can provide proactive client support in that way, as all of us are going along our AI journey in understanding how to use it for good, use it best, use it ethically, and improve our performance. You work with commercial colleagues from the start. Yes, obviously Calvium as an SME are always very, very conscious of the commercials of this, but we're also in the public sector very, very sensitive to the enormous pressures that are on councils now for giving back return on investment and how to do that thing. So we're always trying to engage at that level with our clients and any of their stakeholders to make sure that we use AI to really deliver value for money and be aware of kind of those commercial pressures. And alongside that would be a rigorous review of any licenses, terms of use, any unintended costs, so that again clients are well aware of the transparency of any kind of both costs or rewards that might come through the use of AI. So the final two policies that are in the playbook. It's certainly about having the skills and expertise needed to implement and use AI. As I've mentioned, that is what we're experts in. We've got company-wide training. We are passionate about keeping abreast of things, being as smart and productive as possible in keeping hold of those values about giving real value to clients and using it in an ethical for good way. And again, part of that is also adopting within the company our continuous learning culture, where we celebrate and want to make sure that those values are held by each of us and we carry on. And these principles alongside our policies, we are constantly reviewing our policy documents. We're constantly evaluating new things that are coming on, responding to feedback, and very much advocates of experimentation, user testing, in line with keeping track of regulation, and not always just jumping on the next thing that's coming on without having to think carefully about unintended consequences, proper use of it, and does this actually help, or is it just a new exciting fad that doesn't really move the dial in any positive way? So again, hopefully that gives you some insight as to how Calvium has adapted the AI playbook in a practical case to our place experience platform. And I'll hand back to Jo to wrap up.
Thanks, Jo. That was brilliant. And I think also very generous of you to open up the place experience platform in that way. Not many people would do that. And so I think that's just great. So, yeah, reflections. As we close, it's worth highlighting some of the different models you might adopt when bringing artificial intelligence into public sector platforms. Remember, the opportunity is not to replace those platforms, but to introduce AI into them or beside them, carefully and incrementally. One approach is to add AI as an external capability through APIs or services. And in this model, the existing platform remains stable, but new AI functions are connected to it. That might support tasks such as summarizing content, improving search, analyzing large data sets, or helping users complete complex forms. The AI sits alongside the platform rather than inside its core. Now, at a practical level, the safest way to introduce AI is not to put it straight into the live platform, as Jo had alluded to earlier. Instead, it's to work with experts like Calvium to separate the environment first, test AI capabilities in an experimental sandbox or staging version of the system, and then add the AI capabilities through a separate integration layer. And that allows organizations to evaluate performance, risk, and value before rolling anything into production. A second approach is to embed AI within existing workflows. Here, the technology works behind the scenes, supporting operational processes. AI might help classify incoming requests, prioritize cases, identify patterns in data, or assist staff in navigating complex information. The user experience remains familiar, but the system becomes more efficient. So in practice, this means that the AI is placed between stages of the workflow, as represented here by the two red rectangles, not at the user interface layer. Staff continue using the same screens and processes they're familiar with, but the system behind the scenes has already organized or interpreted the information for them. And a third method is to introduce co-pilot style tools for staff. In this case, AI acts as an assistant within existing professional workflows, helping teams draft content, interpret data, or explore information more quickly. Importantly, the human remains firmly in control of decisions. Indeed, as well as being a standalone approach, it can also be used to inform a redesign of the current system by observing how staff interact with the AI assistant, co-pilot organizations can see how AI adds value, or where human judgment remains essential, remains critical. and they can gather evidence about how their platforms might evolve over time. So across all of these approaches, and of course many others, the key principle is evidence-based integration. Rather than adopting AI because it's fashionable, public sector organizations evaluate where it genuinely adds value, work with specialists such as ourselves, test it carefully, and ensure it aligns with governance, ethics, and public accountability. So the question is not where can we use AI? It is where can AI strengthen the platforms we already have? If we approach AI in that way, incrementally, responsibly, and grounded in evidence, it becomes less of a disruptive force and more of a practical tool for improving how public services operate. So I'd like to say thank you very much for joining Joe Reid and myself today. We hope this session has helped show how AI can be introduced into existing public sector platforms in practical and responsible ways. If you are exploring how AI could enhance your own systems or services, we would be delighted to continue the conversation. So please do get in touch. We would welcome the opportunity to work with you to evaluate opportunities, design the right approach, and implement AI capabilities within your own existing platforms. So thank you again, and we look forward to connecting with you.